You're listening to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JoeMama for Real podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all major podcasting networks. I'm your host, JoeMama! And today's friend is my guest host, JoeMama. How's it going today, Joe?
I'm good. How you doing? How's it good to be out here?
Yeah, it's excellent to have you back. It's been a little while since the last time.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was Evangelion or something like that.
Yeah, end of Evangelion. So we'll link that in the show notes so that people can look back on that one. And we'll also link everything regarding you in the show notes. And I'll give you a full proper introduction after I give the introduction to what we're doing today. Today, we will be diving into the universe of That Time I Got Reanimated as a Slime and exploring their latest movie, Tears of the Azure Sea, a fantasy adventure released in February of 2026. First, Joe and I will be having a conversation about what he thinks of the universe of That Time I Got Reanimated as a Slime. After that, we will go through the adventure as they're at the beach resort and Gabta finds love with Yura. And after that, we will meet the big threat as Zodon is chasing down Gabta and Yura to try to retrieve a certain item and who he works for. And finally, we will go into the big betrayal that happens at the end and a little bit of the fight along the way. And if you like what you're hearing today, remember to check us out on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Click that button down there and hit on JoeMama's links in the show notes and subscribe and follow him too. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Joe. Tell us what you do.
Well, my podcast is called Poppin Cinema with JoeMama and Friends, where I show friends movies that they've never seen before, and then we have discussions about it. So in a sense, I quote unquote pop their cinema cherries in the movie. But
Yep.
then we also do specials like top 10 lists, best and worst, favorites, whatever comes to mind.
Excellent, excellent. And you also have a blog too that will be linked in the show notes. You want to tell them about that?
Yeah, most of that's for reviews of movies that are spoiler free, but like how I feel about them. Then I give like my own reasoning why I liked or didn't like it, and at the end like a grade from A to F.
Okay. Are you going to do a review for Tears of the Azure Sea on that too?
Yeah, I haven't written. I just haven't posted it yet.
Okay. Nice. I look forward to that. I will link that in the show notes too at the point in time when that comes out. But yeah, cool. All right. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. What did you think of the universe in general without just the movie? Some of the crazy characters that you met.
Well, kind of like with everything else anime, I'd never seen the show, but my friend wanted to see it. So we went to see it, and I like the animation to it. It's beautiful. The characters were greatly drawn and animated. I didn't really know anyone in it, obviously, because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But it didn't take long to catch on to certain things because I feel like this movie itself is a very confined tale of like love and betrayal, where it's not deep into the lore of the whole franchise.
No, it's not. It felt like you could watch it stand alone. But you did still get to see a little bit about some of the characters. So I'm guessing one of the drawbacks of it for your introduction to the Slime universe, you didn't see much of the actual main protagonist of the main storyline, Rimuru Tempest, right?
Yeah, I actually thought it was a female, and then kept saying he. I'm like, oh, it's a guy.
Well, I mean, it's a slime. Theory, not either. But anyone who's listened to this will also link our original slime episode in the show notes too. But a little bit of history, the reason why he's able to transform into that appearance is because he consumed a human female at one point in time. He can take on the appearance of stuff that he's consumed. And her dying wish was for Rimuru to consume her because there was a special bond. It was something that happened in the first season, and Rimuru took over her will to help children that were in need of surviving this world that came from another world. So that's something that resolves all by the end of the first season. The female's name is Shizu. Just a little bit of background for anyone who's interested. A little bit of background going into this. The members of the Jura Tempest Federation, which is the country that Rimuru has built in order to be a peaceful country where humans and monsters and dwarves can live alike, they just got done with their Founders Festival, in which they're like fully recognized as a nation in the world that they live in. It's coming from that, and Gabta obviously mentions that he's one of the big four, and that's as a result of winning a tournament from before. So it's a true statement when that little goblin says that he's one of the elite four. He's not one of the four strongest in the village. So A little bit of context on Gobta, though. He is the head of their Wolf Rider. So he's part of one of the 2 scouting teams that the village has. And they all ride on the back of, I think they're Tempest Dire Wolves or something like that. Any other questions that you have about the universe or about going into it before we jump into this, Joe?
No, because my friend gave me a Wikipedia style synopsis before we got there, and then on the way back, I had more questions, like with the fairy girl who got drunk all the time, uh, and then the guy and the girl that kept eating all the time. That's also related to.
Yeah, Malim and Veldora are pretty hilarious. So is Romulus. Veldora is as powerful as any of the demon lords in the universe, and Malim and Romulus are demon lords. And no, that doesn't mean they're demons. It just means it's a big, fierce title given to the most powerful people in the land. But yeah, they were there more for comic relief than anything else. The truth of the matter is, if Veldora or Malim fought against this Azure Sea Dragon, the fight would have been over a little too instantly. So
Who would have won?
Malim would have smoked it. Veldora, when he got serious, would have smoked it. But who knows how long that is. The first time we see Veldora fight in the series, he's literally saying things like Kamehameha, and because he's reading a bunch of manga and he's doing Hadouken and all of that. He's just mimicking moves from different animes and different things. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, you don't take anything seriously, do you?
Nice.
All right. So they're going on vacation. After a good job done with the Founders Festival, they're taking some time to relax. Obviously, they didn't bring all the muscle and strength with them. And I could go through the list of everyone who's there, but the truth of the matter is, we talked about some of them already. It's the usual suspects. It's like Benimaru, Shion, but the only ones who really play any real role in it are Gobta, Rimuru, and Shion to a little less extent than the two of them. Shuna, Shion is the secretary. Most of them are just there for the sake of cameo, which is okay, which is nice for those people who are fans of the series. It gives you a little something there, but it's also good for the people who are just watching this for the first time. And as we mentioned before, Rimuru is not our main character in this movie. It's actually a female by the name of Yura and Gobta. Talk to us about that opening scene. What is Yura doing, and tell us how that goes.
When she steals the dragon whistle.
Yes.
Even with that, I kind of figured she was a good guy. She just seemed like not a villain. So, they played it off as she was going to be a bad guy, but I didn't buy into that.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
It was fun to watch. You could tell that she was fleeing for her life, not reveling in the victory at the end of the theft when she's going away on a manta ray. And, frankly, the choice of a manta ray as opposed to like a shark there kind of is also telling too. Obviously we know a very famous manta ray that is known for very infamous things, but may he rest in peace. But at the same time, for the most part, they're considered a gentler species. So the fact that Yura is escaping on one of them after pulling off a pretty decent heist, I guess it wasn't as well guarded as you think something like that should have been, right?
Yeah, it wasn't well protected for her to get through it pretty easily.
And you find out pretty quickly that the reason why that is because this city is underwater. Unless it's an inside job, there's little to any chance of somebody actually making off with the dragon flute whistle scroll. What was that? I don't remember the exact name of it, but
I don't know. Titles from this show, I have no idea what any of these things are called.
yeah, it's not part of the main series, but it looks kind of like a scroll, kind of springy, and I think it's a flute, it's definitely a flute, not a whistle.
What flute, yeah.
And we'll cover a little more of the significance of that later on as we get into the show. But after Yura does the opening heist, it then goes to Rimuru and company, and they are flying in a Dragon aircraft on their way to a vacation spot where they can just enjoy everything, kick back and relax. Everyone just goes off their own way very quickly. Rimuru is going through the marketplace with Shuna, Shion, and Gobta, and eventually Gobta realizes they're being watched. Want to tell us a little bit about that and who's watching them?
No, it's Yura who's watching them. And I guess Agapte, he's like a guard or whatever, or the wolf, something other.
Yeah,
So
Wolf Rider.
he'd pick up on like a more of a scout person than others would have.
Yes. Well, that's literally his job. When you live in a village full of monsters that just want to be peaceful, there's plenty of enemies. So he has to be alert. He has to be vigilant. And as impressive as her heist was, everyone in Rimuru's kingdom is overpowered. Like, it's just the truth of the matter. So it's not crazy to think that he would be able to detect her. It seems like she's going for help, but she doesn't know how to approach him.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah, nothing with that.
it's simple enough. She's trying to hide. She knows she has to ally herself with someone powerful. And a major event happens before we get into the point when the misadventures of Gabta and Yura, as we have it, which wasn't what I was expecting at all going into this, but a huge attack happens overhead. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that huge attack that happens?
I mean, I saw it. I didn't understand what it was. It looked like a nuclear. They said something about like nuclear magic or something.
Nuclear magic, yeah.
And then there was with the main slime guy.
Rimuru.
Oh yeah, they had like the alert thing, which I don't know what that was either. Is that like a thing inside of him saying what's happening, or
Yeah, that time I got reincarnated as slime as an isekai, so it's a journey of somebody switch worlds. This came as a result of him reincarnating. As he's saying his final dying words, he doesn't realize it, but he's gaining powers for the other world. And he says something to the effect of, I just kind of want to know what was going on. And it gives him a great sage power that later is able to evolve beyond great sage at this point in time. There's a lot of evolutions in it along the way.
I just took it like a Jarvis and Tony Stark thing where he's like, so
Yeah,
there's something in the atmosphere.
yeah, it's not uncommon for the video game voice to be in the character's head in an isekai when they get into the new world. And this is one that can actually give intel and tell what's going on. It doesn't just inform of your basic stats and whatnot. It's
Yeah, so we crossed the sky and it crashed into the sea, and it was aiming at the undersea land, but no one knew it was there.
Yeah. Everyone assumes that it's an attack on Demon Lord Leon Cromwell, who's the human Demon Lord of Octagram. Octagram is the organization where they all come together and meet every now and again and keep each other accountable. But Rimuru's a member of that group too. Rimuru has title Demon Lord also. Everyone assumes it's attack against him, but really it's an attack against the underwater city
Cayenne?
Cayenne. There we go. So yeah, it's really targeting towards the underwater city of Cayenne, not targeting towards Leon Cromwell's realm. But the truth of the matter is, Cromwell takes care of it almost every single time with no problem, and it just gets destroyed out of the sky. And with characters like Veldora and Malim there's really no thought that this is going to be a problem for our heroes. So therefore, it had to have tied into the story somehow. And later in the story, you find out that it is an attack against the underwater city. And you also find out who is using that magic too. But before we get to that, let's get back to Yura and Gabta, our odd couple. Want to say anything about Yura and Gabta?
Opposites attract.
Yeah, like, right?
And I like the beginning that they hated each other,
hmm
but it's like that thing where I knew they're going to fall in love because it's like a classic romantic comedy movie where the two opposites are like fighting all the time and then they realize, oh, we love each other.
Yeah. It comes across a lot more like a rom-com at moments, less of the fantasy adventure that it was marketed and advertised as. But at the same time, it's funny watching them go through it, and they take turns saving each other back and forth when they start to get chased by the guards. Sarah whispered over to me as we were watching it in the theaters, and she was like, "I ship that." And I'm like, "Okay." Like,
I mean, they were good together.
yeah, I mean, you kind of felt like it was doomed to fall apart somehow. Maybe she comes back to the village as Gobta's gal at the end, but that's never the way these movies go. The characters in a lot of anime movies as a whole, unless it's literally a continuation of the story, it always feels like they're there, and by the end of the movie, they're completely resolved and taken out of the picture. But Yura's alive and well at the end of this. But yeah, so the misadventures of them, they go through all sorts of things together. You want to talk a little bit about the journey, limestone caves, clock tower, like any part of it stick out more, was a little more fun to you?
The limestone cave was fun because it was literally like a tunnel of love.
Yeah.
You know, the writing was a manatee or no
Manatee, seal,
seal, whatever, some sea animal.
yeah, some sea animal.
I just expected like some love song to play, or if they're in Disney, some animatronics to start singing or something.
I thought it
They
was
get
yeah,
they
I
get
thought
attacked down there too. So
yep. And yet still somehow manage to try to keep up with Rimuru. They're chasing after Rimuru to try to catch up. And it seems like they're just making one wrong turn after another, yet somehow still remaining just off pace too, which I guess we could chalk that up to like plot magic, Or we could chalk that up to Gob to just being that great of a scout. Like, I don't know.
You know what? He seemed a good scout for that though, because the one time when they go left and they get to the fork, and he's like, "When you're lost, go right." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, no, he definitely didn't seem like a scout there in that moment. And that leads them to the top of the tower, and they've been starting to get into fights with Zodon at this point in time, the captain of the guard from where she has come from. And he's trying to bring her and the flute back to a man by the name of Jeez. Before we get too much into that, I'm getting a little bit thirsty at this point in time. So I'm going to take my dubby break that I normally take in the middle of these. And this is a clean energy drink, but today I'm drinking the hydrator. So no sugar added, no preservatives added. And you can go to dubby.com to get it. You can get 10% off if you input our code Exploring Anime 524. That's Exploring Anime in all caps. And I'm going to take a sip right now. Have you ever heard of Dubby, Joe?
I have not actually. It looks pretty good. Looks like a lemonade flavor.
This is a lemonade flavor. I actually genuinely did stop drinking Gatorade in favor of their hydrators. So, and it seems like it might be a little pricey at first, but if you're an avid soda drinker and you're trying to cut off of the soda a little, the energy drinks are a nice little supplement. They're cheaper than a fountain drink if you're getting fountain drinks from like Quick Check or 7-Eleven. The overall cost for everything, I view it as a clean alternative to soda and Gatorade. So, but yeah, and if you like what you're hearing from us, hit those social media links down below. You listen this long, you should be subscribing to both of us at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and as far as this movie goes, it will be available on Crunchyroll when it comes out. And if it's not, then it's potentially still in the theaters. And if it's neither and you're hitting it at that window right in between, you're going to have to wait a little for it to pop up. So,
Yeah.
all right. And we have made it to the threat. It looks like this man, Jeez, is the threat. He is looking to steal back the flute. And how does that end? How is Zodon eventually able to get it? Or is Zodon eventually able to get it? Talk to us about the final chase down for it.
Well, because about the tower and it gets surrounded, and you're prepares to jump off the tower, and Gupta goes to stop her, and the food kind of falls out.
Yeah.
And so he gets it, and they escape.
Yep. He gets it. He brings it back to G's. And it's one of those things where up to this point in time, they've thought that only the priestess, which we find out that Yura is the priestess of the underwater nation of Kayan, only the priestess can actually play it and summon the Azure Dragon. But that's something that might not be true. And we find that out in a conversation with Zodon and G's. You want to tell us how that went for the brilliant mastermind who is G's?
Well, he knew that he could use it,
Yeah.
and that it's not just the priestesses that could, because he studied it and he understood like how it worked, so he was able to use it too.
Yep. And the problem for him is Zodon also knew that information too, and Zodon really wasn't working for him at all. And Zodon is also someone who is able to use nuclear magic, and Jeez finds that out the hard way, doesn't he?
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny.
And Zodon then doubles down because he doesn't just want the power of the dragon. And this summons the water dragon, the dragon of the Azure Sea. It's called by a few different names at a few different times. So I'm not sure what the exact name is, but this is where it comes from. And it is a giant water dragon that has immense power. But he doesn't just want that. He also thinks he somehow gets his happily ever after with Yura, too.
He takes her back to the water, and Dub has to go get Rimuru and the others to help get her back.
Yep. So at that point in time, Zodon has Yura, Zodon has the flute, and he knows how to play the flute. And Rimuru and company are going to do what they can to actually save both Yura and save the kingdom. So they head out on the journey and they jump on the ship, heading to the kingdom of Kayan. Does Kayan welcome them with open arms, or what? How does that scene go?
It seems like they did overall, because I remember the scene all together in that one room with the teleprompter thing.
The truth of the matter is, when a demon lord asks for an audience with your nation and you know it's a peaceful audience, you typically don't turn them down. So at this point in time, king of the nation realizes that it has been stolen and that Zodon plans on using it. His number one advisor, Jeez, is taken out of the picture at this point in time, and they're really just kind of wondering what happens. And as it is happening, we start to realize that the city is being pulled up from underneath water, that the water dragon has been activated and that they're being moved up to the surface. Anything you thought about that scene?
The whole time I kind of thought that Zordon was like Orm from Aquaman. Like,
Okay.
the land people are too strong. We need to get rid of them. We need the country that rules. I want to be that rules everything. It's going to bring it all to the surface and take over everything.
Yeah, he was pretty simple motive. There were tropes that were overused throughout it, but at the same time, I do like the simplicity of it, despite the fact that it felt like it was a little more well made. Does that make sense?
I liked it because I understood it. I was worried if I was going to go into it with all this lore, I had no idea what would be happening, but I said it's actually very bare bones for someone like me to understand.
Yeah, they didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They didn't try to incorporate every character. They gave them their cameos, but at the same point in time, it was a very easy plot to follow. Whether you find that as a pro or a con, that's up to you. For me, I found it as I was looking for a big twist, but then I remembered as we were doing a little bit of rewatch because we actually took Autumn to see this movie. She enjoyed it and started to do a rewatch with her so that she could get a little bit of the background that it was kind of like, you know what, Slime isn't really full of incredible plot twist or anything like that. Like it's very straightforward. So it was refreshing to see them stick with the way that it was done and keep it friendly for all audiences, whether they were new to the Slime franchise or not.
Yeah, because
But
I saw the Demon Slayer movie, Chainsaw Man movie, Jujutsu Kaisen movie, and even told my friend after this one, I feel like this is a more family friendly anime as opposed to the other ones.
yeah, oh, definitely. Compared to the rest of them, they were all rated R, right?
Yeah.
So this one was on the PG-13, and it was one of those things. We went back and forth. It's like, well, can Autumn watch this? Can she not? And then we looked at the trailer, and it's like, oh, basically, I thought the trailer did an excellent job showing what the movie was going to be like, right?
Mhm.
As far as like overall violence levels and appropriateness, it didn't show anything about the Gob to Yura misadventures, which was a nice, pleasant twist. Especially, like, if anything, that was the big twist. I wish I could say that the ending wasn't like by over halfway through, you kind of knew what the ending was going to be like, right?
Yeah.
We can cut off at any point in time when we're along the way, but the truth is that this is not a ending that we don't have to spoil because it will be spoiled for you by halfway watching through. But yeah, so Zodon summons the great water dragon and he has Yura by his side. And you get the impression that if someone is able to break his grip on her because she's going into like a trance-like state, that there is just a very good chance that it all comes to an end pretty quickly. Rimuru left Veldora and Malim back at the shore to protect against any blasts that were coming because Veldora already showed that he could handle a blast from the water dragon. I mean, Veldora is a dragon. Was that made clear to you before?
No.
He's the mighty storm dragon. He's just there in human form. So in the opening episode of Slime, Rimuru and Veldora meet each other before either of them have human forms as a slime and a dragon. And Rimuru actually eats Veldora and the prison that he's in so that they can both work together to break down the mystical prison that he's bound in. And he
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
becomes a big friend and a freeloader, basically. So Rimuru gives him all the manga he can read, and Veldora hangs out and kicks something's butt when it's a little too hard for someone else. But yeah, so they're back on the shore taking care of that. And man, want to say anything visually about this fight scene at the end?
I loved it. I loved the visuals to it. I loved when everyone started fighting it, and like all their special abilities and everything, and
Oh
just
yeah.
the colors, the action, the camera work, just everything was just so magnificent to it.
Any of those attacks that stuck out more than other attacks?
The Tempest, when she goes to with the whatever, gets the wings and he's flying around and like yelling Beelzebub and like whatever that power he has and that stuff that springs up.
Yep. Lots of cool attacks. That is one thing that I really enjoyed. The fact that all the extra characters that made their cameos early on, you got to see all of them do like ultimates or at least special moves along the way in the end. It was a powerful enough threat to warrant that, but we're going to give some spoilers. Like this is not something that we have to keep unspoilered. It fell pretty easily once they had the opening, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, they were to be easily.
Gobta's riding on the back of Ranga, and everyone's just trying to create space for him to get through so that he can get through and he can save Yura from Zodon. And eventually, Gobta gets to repay the punch that Zodon gave him earlier.
Yeah.
So, which is wonderful. He punches the bad guy and rescues the girl, and he's holding her in his arms. I think that's where we'll keep people in suspense, what happens with Gobta and Yura, so that we won't go into that part. But after she's gone and cleared, it was, classic hostage situation. Once the hostage is moved out of the way, say what Rimuru does.
That was the best thing. Like call something like the sky. It's like, I can't remember what movie it was, where they have like a big laser right direct on one of those spots.
Yeah.
And it's like the laser right onto Zordon blast.
Yeah. It really kind of showed that the Zodon were not really a match. It's just the complication of the hostage situation, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but once she's rescued, it's all over from there. But beyond that, anything else you want to talk about this movie?
Just that it was really good. At some point, I watched the franchise, probably not for a while, because like I watched a bunch of new things that people say for me to watch, and I haven't got time. But did you see the end credit scenes?
Yes, I did watch the end credit scenes. I mean, if Marvel movies taught us anything, it's it's to wait beyond the credits, right?
And then where it's at the end too, when it said, was it the Azure Dragon will return in Avengers Doomsday?
Yeah, the Azure Dragon will return in Avengers Doomsday. Everyone's returning in Avengers Doomsday.
Yep.
Man, that'll definitely be fun when that comes out at the end of 2026, or if you're listening to this in the future beyond that point, when it came out at the end of 2026. Overall, I really enjoyed it. We said it multiple times. It stands alone well. It's a good continuation to the story. It was true to Slime. The Gobta Yura stuff, it caught me off guard, but it was kind of adorable. The plot was simple. If you've watched movies at all or watch anime at all, you're going to have a good feel what's going on by about a third of the way through the movie. But for me, as a Slime fan, it was nice to see all the cameos. It was nice to see their big attacks at the end. And it felt like a nice, refreshing, like small arc in the middle of everything. So I appreciated it a lot. Any final words for you?
Did you watch it subbed or dubbed?
We watched it subtitled. Did you have the option of watching it dubbed?
Yeah, they had the two options, but my friend wanted sub, so we did that.
Okay. Yeah.
In the dubbed version, Gobta was voiced by Ryan Reynolds.
Wait, Gobta was voiced by Ryan Reynolds in the dubbed version?
I want to see it again just to see him talking.
Oh my goodness. Now I need to watch the dubbed version just because of Ryan Reynolds.
Right? Yeah, I was like, that'd been kind of cool out here.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to see that now. But yeah, no, we watched it subbed. Sarah was the one who bought the tickets. So
yeah.
I just showed up for the ride and ate popcorn. So, all right. So once again, we talked about Tears of the Azure Sea. We went into a little bit of the history of the Slime universe and what the events led to the beginning of this movie. Afterwards, we talked about our beautiful love couple of Yura and Gobta and the romance that was or wasn't or was interrupted by Zodon and Jeez that he worked for. Then we went into the betrayal of Zodon versus Jeez, how he seized the flute and summoned the Azure Dragon to try to lay waste to the land dwellers, ultimately opposed by Rimuru and his ragtag group of the Jura Tempest Federation. We hope you had as much fun exploring the world of Tears of the Azure Sea as we have, and consider watching this movie. Bye!
Bye, thanks again.
So if you like what you heard today, make sure you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcast. Listen to all of our JMill for Real podcast. And hit us up on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, this was Exploring Anime with Friends. Let's explore together. And now for a word from our sponsors. And today's show was brought to you by Dubby Energy, a modern approach to energy drinks with no sugar, dyes, or fillers added. Dubby Energy, be better. And use code EXPLORINGANIME524 for 10% off your order. That's EXPLORINGANIME524, one word, all capital letters, for 10% off your latest Dubby Energy order. Link listed in the show notes.